Reverend Starsky, Dr. Reverend Michael Eric Dyson, Arian Simone. Give them a round of applause as they join us on stage. Anywhere. Loren Studevant, are you in the room? Please join us. Thank you, brother. Eric Thomas, are you in the room? Our chief storyteller, if y'all see Eric, can you ask him to join us on stage, please? Can we change this song? Chris Brown still got some growing to do. We're going to put him in the category with R. Kelly. Things get over you and onto you. Him, R. Kelly. I would say Diddy, but it's too many songs for me to do that math. And he just be on the track. It's all relevant. Joy, music, we make connections. So we're waiting for two more of our panelists. Why don't we go ahead and sit on down? We're going to hold space for two of our panelists to join us. Listen, it's all relevant. Pop culture is pop culture. All right, beautiful people. So I started talking without doing a proper introduction. My name is David Johns. If white people were in this space, I would say Dr. David Johns, because requiring white people to acknowledge my title is my personal form of reparations. But we are a community, so David works. And I have the pleasure of leading, come on, brother, I have the pleasure of leading the National Black Justice Collective. We are a 21-year-old civil rights organization, intentionally and unapologetically at the intersections of racial equity and LGBTQIA plus equality. So what I know is that our people have always been beautifully diverse, and we study the lessons of Fannie Lou Hamer, which says that none of us are free unless and until all of us are free. So the goal is to get free. I talked a little bit about, I will stand up and stand at the podium. So y'all should know that I am, Angela Rye and I call each other twins. We've known each other for a couple of decades now. And so if I'm talking and you're like, who is he talking to? It's because I'm getting directions from Angela. If anybody knows Angela, that's just how it goes. And this is relevant because I'm really honored to have led the Black Papers research project that we talked a little bit about. The Black Paper project you can find on our website now involves nearly 100 Black leaders, people like those who are on the stage. Actually, 4 of the people up here have contributed to the project. And when we are done, we will have nearly 30 Black Papers on a range of topics. Today, we are super excited to release 4 papers, and they are on transportation and infrastructure, tax policy and Black economic justice, addressing the Black male college enrollment crisis through the teacher pipeline restoration, and of course, entrepreneurship. So give the folks who've contributed to these papers and edited them a round of applause. So let's do this. The first panel was going to be focused on the first 100 days and the state of our community. I'm gonna start with our Reverend Pastor, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. What is the state of our people, and what should we be focused on as we move from simply surviving to thriving?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, it's just great to be here back at the crib in Detroit. With my daughter leader, Angela Rye. This is her brainchild. She shares, tremendously generous spirit she shares with everybody, but this is her brainchild. I want y'all to give her some love up in here tonight. And I just got to say to my man, Jalen Rose down here, one of the greatest, right? One of the greatest Detroiters ever to come out of this city, right? And I can't help but think during the basketball season, 14,000 points, 3,000 and some rebounds, 3,000 and some assists, right? 14 points per season, and an average that is astonishing. He was a great star. He was named the comeback, most improved player. And I think that says most about him, because he is relentlessly trying to do better and to better himself. And while he's bettering himself, he's bettering all of us. We got to give him some love. And all these great people, I didn't even know Sister Erin was from Detroit, but I could feel it, that kind of don't give a damn and gonna put my foot up your imagination. It's a beautiful thing. Look, my pastor from Detroit, up the road here, Dr. Frederick Sampson, said we've already come through what we've come to, right? And Dr. Johns, who is brilliantly leading the production of these papers, one of our foremost intellectuals, with the publication of these papers, he's got to take the front ranks of black public intellectuals in America. And one of the things I think about is that we have already wrestled with and struggled with many of the issues that we confront now. Why? Because racism is a dry run for fascism. Everything that white folk are upset about and other Americans are consternated about, we done been through, right? When you say fascism is about the inability to vote, we've been there. When fascism is about the denial of opportunity, we've been there. When fascism is about the suppression of dissent, we've been there. So across the board for me, where we are is where we have always been. We have always been in this position. We've always been behind the eight ball. A little bit more luxury we endured when we were able to vote different people in. It does make a difference. But fundamentally, what we understand is that we have to call upon the resources that made us. The great Howard Thurman said, don't reduce your dreams to the event which is your immediate experience. He said, you got a choice. You can be a prisoner of the event you confront, or you can be a prisoner of hope. And I think black people bring the hope. And I'll end by saying this. I know, and we were talking about this on one of our calls, where they say, well, black people just chilling right now. We ain't doing nothing. We letting white folk do the work. Well, if that was true, that would be all right, too. But that ain't even true. The truth is, we work in shifts. I worked in the factory here. It wasn't no summer job. At Kelsey Hayes Wheel Break and Drum Company. And some of us worked the first shift. Some of us worked the second shift. Some of us worked the third shift. So we just working in shifts. And if it's your time to lay back, self-care, interrogate, understand where you came from. But at the end of the day, black people continue to be the soul of this nation. We continue to be the best of what America has to offer. And no matter what this orange apparition intends to do to us, meeting in his Oval Office with a South African leader who gladly, I thank God, fought back, inventing in his own psychopathic imagination the possibility that white people are under assault. This is the continuous mindset of white supremacy. So our job is to do what our leader Angela Rye is talking about, our leader Dr. David Johns is talking about. We must continue to imagine. And imagination is important. Y'all been to Sea Centers, right? If you haven't, go check it out. A tremendous movie, because it imagines what our past was as a way of leading us forward. So if we can reimagine what we have been, the ideas that have produced us, and what we as a people have become, we will continue to get out of this. And don't forget this. This is 4 years, 3 years and counting right now, 3.5. What we have to do is to make sure that we are the margin of error for our own salvation. And if we do that, we got to vote, we got to continue to speak up, we got to continue to resist. And when we do that, we know that the God above who leads us will never lead us alone. I've been old, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken. And that's what I believe right now.
We're going to keep this going. I don't want y'all to clap, because if y'all clap after every one of them speaking, we're going to take up all of the time. Let's just keep the affirmation going, and if we were in a ballroom culture, you can just do this as a form of affirmation. Just do this as a form of affirmation. The gays be teaching. So I heard Dr. Dyson say 3 things. One is the importance of us reclaiming African ways of being, celebrating that everything that exists is because of us. The second is showing up in community to work in shifts. And then the third is checking our mindset. So I heard you invite us to do some Afrofuturistic dreaming or imagining. Starsky, Reverend Starsky, he leads the Children's Defense Fund, and I would like for you to do two things. Let's expand this conversation and talk about the work that we should be doing to ensure that our babies have the ability to be children, so that they're not enrolled in doing the kind of labor that all of us are required to do to defend democracy and strengthen our community. The second is to talk about the role of organizations like CDF in helping to connect some of these dots so that we can not just survive these moments, but hold space to actually dream.
Got it. No, thank you very much again. Acknowledgement to our leaders who have gathered and convened us on Children's Defense Funds. Really excited to be a part of this conversation in multiple cities across the country. I do want to center in the moment and pull this thread of anti-blackness that is global and connected today in American history from Washington, D.C. to Detroit in the visit of the South African president. 40 years ago, a group of people over time, people in rooms like this decided they would define their own oppression and circumstances and articulate the way forward. They were gathered as a group called the Institute for Contextual Theology. It was black folks in townships in South Africa, guided by a brother who had to check in at the top of the day and the end of the day because he was on a work release from prison. So he checked in to the jail every night. And they came together and they talked about what the moment of oppression by white South Africans meant to them. And those same white South Africans, of course, in collusion with the orange man that has been spoken of right now. And what they said was they were experiencing apartheid, and they defined apartheid as a small group of minorities ruling over a larger majority in the interest and for the benefit of white people. So the oppression was a small group guiding over, lording over a group of black people who were the majority in the interest of white people. I say that and connect it here as we talk about the work that we have to do, because I know that as recently as 2014, 2015, 50% of all people in Michigan lived under an emergency manager, some kind of government takeover of your democratic authority, and it started in school districts. School districts are the place where we found out that you can take away people's voting power in America. You can appoint somebody by calling it emergency. That emergency can be man-made, it can be fiscal, it can be catastrophic, it can be a circumstance. And so I spent 20 years in St. Louis. It can be a tornado like hit this week. It can be a fiscal crisis like the one they're trying to talk about in Washington, D.C. and create, and they use that to take authority back from the community that needs to define its own circumstances. And we saw that first emerging over a decade leading up to 2015 when it happened here in Michigan, in Flint, in Benton Harbor, in Detroit, and all of these places where you saw people first get their schools taken back, get their city taken back, get somebody appointed to rule over them. You saw a rollback of democracy where a minority ruled over the black majority. Oh, I didn't mention, this only happens in places where black people are the majority. So you saw apartheid rising in America before this visit today. So what we're talking about is that we are living in the context of apartheid like we saw in South Africa, and the ruling in the interests of white people is what's happened when they take away the programs for us, when they propose a budget like they're trying to get passed right now in Washington, D.C., where they put $1 trillion into defense spending, where a white South African Afrikaner named Elon Musk makes his bones in his business, and they take money away from programs like the Department of Education, which in and of itself is a 4,000-person civil rights office, to make sure that your black children get what they need. That's where we are. So what do we do with where we are? Part of what we've got to do with where we are is we've got to honor the creative impulse of what's happening in community already and seek to expand it and honor that our programs and our innovations for our people are not just for us in the moment, but they're for all people for all time. Right here in Detroit, throughout the state of Michigan, CDF partners with community-based organizations here, SEED here, the Michigan Conference of the United Methodist Church, in other areas in Saginaw and Benton Harbor, here and in Flint. We have a network of Freedom Schools. Freedom Schools start with a Harambe every day where young people chant, cheer, affirm in their African identity and understand what it means to come together in unity. They celebrate one another, and then they engage in reading books where they see themselves. Now, I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. Don't hold it against me, because a whole lot of your textbooks come from Texas, and the textbooks that come from Texas don't tell our history. We've taken civics out, we've taken social studies out, and we don't see a whole lot of black and brown people. But in these freedom schools across Detroit and in Flint and other places, they see, these young black kids see themselves in the books, and guess what? When they see themselves in the book, they desire to read, and when they do 6 weeks in a summer this way, they actually advance a year in reading in 6 weeks. And so these affirmative expressions of African and African-American identity for young people in small places, in community-based organizations and churches across our communities were meant to be an experimental project where we show people what to do, but it doesn't have to end there. These are the things that we should be translating into our schools across the country at a local level, even as we seek to work together across our organizations. So I answer both questions at the same time. What is the place of our organizations? Is to partner with people locally to give experiences and exposure to young people so they can see what they can be. Not only do they see themselves in those books, but they also see themselves in the black college students who run every classroom. I love this because when I started working with Freedom Schools as a volunteer, I saw that I partnered with school districts, and the young people who went to summer school with the certified teachers. I ain't hating on certified teachers. I love certified teachers. I'm talking about the system. The young people who went to the system's summer schools had less advancement than the ones who saw black college students teaching them to read over the summer. When they see what they can be in these innovations, when they see what they can be because young people are empowered to pour into young people, then they become great things and can take over the world. And our job is to fight to make sure the resources are there for them in these local programs and in these budgets, by contacting our congresspeople, by holding people accountable. And right now, I encourage you, right now, between now and Memorial Day, they're trying to pass a budget in Congress that will fundamentally take away the Department of Education. It will not exist. Take 2,000 jobs out of 4,000, out of 4,000, so there'll be no oversight when we see challenges in our local school districts. And so part of our job is to make sure the resources are there, make sure the innovations are there, and then don't stop at our local program. Make them put in the investments to make it national policy.
Yeah, my hope is that everybody who is not familiar with CDF is looking up cdf.org and finding the Freedom School next to you. I heard Starsky lift up at least 2 points. One was the importance of us working in coalition. The second is the importance of representation. What many of us know is that black men in education, we represent less than 2% of the workforce. It is more likely that a child who looks like us or comes from the communities we conspire to ensure are successful will go to jail before they see a black male elementary school teacher. And so, Jalen, I just want to celebrate that after leading and innovating as a member of the Fab Five, being drafted by the Denver Nuggets, becoming an MVP, doing amazing things, you chose to come right back to the space that Starsky talked about and starting the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. Why was that important? What lesson have you learned, and what does support look like?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can y'all hear me? I appreciate the love. Thank you, Dr. Dyson. Thank all of you guys. I really admire the work that you've done. I want to thank all of the people that are here on a Wednesday afternoon trying to do what we can to help uplift ourselves and uplift our people. So give yourselves a round of applause. And I also have to acknowledge Queen Angela Rye. This is her brainchild. I've saw her do texts and emails 24 hours a day, 365, worried about the tables, worried about the meals, worried about the guests, worried about the rally, worried about the schedule, worried about you guys having places to sit. And for you to come from Seattle to Detroit to organize this is incredible, so I thank you. So that you put together each place that you go, because as somebody that's a native from here, there are actually people here that are doing the work that we've never met each other, that we've never gotten together. And I can't lie, to answer your question, there was a lot of times I was actually mad. I was actually frustrated. I was actually disappointed. and I felt like my own people wasn't riding for me like they should. I often felt when you said, what do we need? We need money. Do I need to say that in Spanish or in Chinese? Like, that's what we need. So our school at the time, for those Detroiters, you know this, around 2007, John McCain, who was running for office at the time, God rest his soul, I'm not trying to throw shots at him, but I'm just saying, I'm one of the people that's watching sports, watching entertainment, watching politics, watching whatever. First 48, I'm watching everything, right? So he came on and he was doing an interview about why he wasn't coming to stomp in Michigan. And he was like, because when the rest of the world gets sick, Detroit get the flu. And that really stuck with me. And then I was like, I got to dig down. I got to get a little deeper. So I really did some math and realized that we was one of the cities that was #1 at the time of creating the pupil to prison pipeline. We were number one, literally. And I was like, what can I do? Oh my God, this is crazy. And I always took pride in my education. Yeah, I love sports, but I was an honor roll student in high school. I made the dean's list in college. Nobody ever talked about that I graduated from college, right? So I took passion in my education. I never wanted to be considered no dumb job. And so I was like, I'm gonna do something that doesn't happen. Because usually when people come into the inner city with their dollars, they do it when we're in 2nd grade, when we're in 3rd grade, when we're in 4th grade. Why? We consider cute and cuddly still then. But when you get to high school, 14, 15, 16, oh no, you've been exposed to what it's like to be black in America, social media, sex, drugs, violence, gangs, what's going on in your family, what's going on in the community, and that's a different young person in 11th grade that you're nurturing than the 3rd grader, who, by the way, in the public school system get the exact same money. So for any parent in here that has a kid in high school, 11th, 12th grade, you already know it costs more to nurture that young person than it does a 2nd or 3rd grader. It just does. More time, by the way, more energy, more passion, and more money. And so I was like, I'm gonna do something that really wasn't being done. I was gonna independently open a high school. And that's what we did. I'm not politically driven. I'm not a part of a network. Dave Being was the mayor. When y'all look at our first pictures, I ain't had no sponsors, none. I could have just drove down the Lodge Freeway and threw my money out the window. I wasn't even chartered. I could have literally wasted my money. And so I had to feel like I was gonna be dedicated and passionate, so now I can recruit a board that's passionate, recruit families that are passionate, and try to figure a way to right or raise the money that we have. So we just completed our 14th school year. Thank you. And for anybody that's ever been up 8 Mile on Hubble, I just remember the visual of All Stars at the time was a thriving business. And I can't act like I didn't contribute. Maybe once or twice, but that's not the story. That was a thriving business, and the school that we founded was an eyesore. The windows were broken, or the plumbing was taken out of the walls. We called them urban miners. They just take everything from the school, the toilets, everything. And so it was literally an eyesore. And when we found the facility, we were like, we're gonna do something special with it. And as somebody that loves basketball the way I love basketball, I love my community and my scholars and the young people that I influence so much that I just completed my 14th school year. I took over elementary school, turned it into a high school, and we ain't never played a home basketball game. We ain't never played a home basketball game. We got a caffeinasium. So I walked in all of these rooms, they're like, oh, he's 6'8", he played ball. Oh my God, I'm like, nah, I'm about to educate these kids, put them in a position to be successful, change their life, give them life skills, social skills, etiquette, problem solving, show them how to de-escalate stuff like, we can hoop later. So that's what I was on. And that's what we are. And so moments like this room looks like my school. Our school is 100% black and we get 0 state funding for the facility. If something happens, 0. So there are a lot of political misnomers that happen about we are a public school. We are a public school. I attended a public school, Detroit Southwestern. I founded a charter school. If anybody knows the difference, I do. And I'm telling y'all, the difference is we create a smaller learning environment for young people to thrive that aren't zoos when you walk up to them. We're not a testing school. Shout to Cass, shout to Renaissance, shout to King. Those are testing schools, which means they're cherry picking students. They test you in before 9th and test you out after 10th. That's what's happening. And those are amazing inner city public schools that we want their kids to go on to Michigan and Michigan State and compete with the kids from Country Day and all of that too. But the work that I do is to try to take the kid that's actually getting $8,000 a year and have them compete with those kids for the same opportunities in life. But also, it ain't because they're gonna go to Harvard or Princeton. I meet them at 9th grade, they're reading at a 4th grade level, 5th grade level. System already failed them. I'm trying to put them in position to have a job, have a trade, go to college, 2-year, 4-year, and don't stick a gun in your face at the ATM machine. Those are the young people that I'm able to nurture. So this work that you guys are doing is incredible. I'm very grateful. I thank each of you for being here today because this is monumental. This is really game changing. So thank you for moderating. Any questions or comments somebody ever have for me? I live here. I'm 10 toes down. I'm at the Michigan game, at the Pistons game, at the Lions game. I'm wherever. I'm in the hood. I'm downtown. I'm wherever. I was on the east side at Pershing with New Era Detroit the other day. We was on the west side. Like, this is what we do. So when we say Detroit versus everybody, I'm living that. So thank y'all very much.
Let's stay in this space. We're going to open it up for questions in a bit. But I want to highlight at least 2 things that we all now have the opportunity to do. We were invited into the story, right? To be able to celebrate the good work that they're doing, we can all tell that story to somebody else. The second thing that I hope us all heard this brother say is that they receive 0 state funding. So how do people donate or invest in the work?
I mean, you can give me a check right now if you want. But in all honesty, I just gotta say something real that I don't want to go over people's heads. And I know the room, everybody in this room looks like us, but one of the ways also is at some point we have to also be able to find and create allies because we don't own much. So as I look at my students, we're 100% black. I look at my donor wall, it's like 98% white. And I got to stay encouraged. Because I see people coming here doing shows and opening businesses and talking about the great things they want to do for the city, saying what up, though, wearing the old English D, all good.
Yeah,
sometimes I be wanting to be like, check it in.
We know what that is. We know what that is. So wait. Let's say, look, we gonna stay local. We gonna stay local. And I heard somebody in the audience say that's all right. My question is it? So let's pull in our sisters. 2 things. One, we need to pray over these microphones. We want the spirit of Babyface in that versus battle, because one of these mics is giving Teddy Riley, and we don't want that. The second thing is I just want to name the gender imbalance, right? But as a member of the Mama's Boys Club, we know that we don't get to experience anything beautiful unless it comes through black women. So I just want to celebrate black women in this space.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
have 2 of our sisters here. And I heard Jalen talk about do something that doesn't happen, and then talked about the dynamic of too often us needing to rely on the funding of white folks and their benevolence to do a great thing. So Melissa, your journey from Wall Street to founding the Lip Bar illustrates a different model of entrepreneurship. You've done exactly what he's just, give her a round of applause, yep. So my questions for you are, how has Detroit shaped you and your approach to business? And what should other people learn from your lessons? And then related to that, Arian. Y'all know Arian, who is the leader of the Fearless Fund. So very much staying in this space, you have actively battled the demons that are often attached to white people hoarding wealth. Can you share some of the lessons that you've learned from that and what we should all be taking as we do the work of resisting capitulation or otherwise giving into, what'd you call them, the orange apparition? There we go, the apparition. So Melissa, then Arian.
My journey to starting the Lip Bar was scrappy. And I was okay with being scrappy because, to Jalen's point, I didn't know that I could get money from anyone else. I didn't have any allies. All I knew was the grittiness that Detroit taught me, which frankly is a privilege. I talk about being from Detroit and having Black privilege all the time. So I grew up with a Black mayor, a Black police chief, understanding that there are Black doctors and lawyers as well as Black drug dealers and drug addicts. So it was very clear to me that my life would be from my decisions. Like the journey and the path that I took would be my own, and I didn't expect anyone to help me. I knew that no one was coming to save me, so much so that it has actually hurt the Lip Bar's growth because I was too scrappy. I was too self-sufficient. I wasn't looking for allies. Like, I went on Shark Tank, had that very public rejection, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's just me. I have to be like most Black women in this country and decide that I have to wear every single hat, that I have to show up for every single person on my team, everyone on my family. I have to be the voice and represent all Black women in America. And frankly, that is too painful. The weight is far too much to bear because at the end of the day, I don't represent all Black women. And going to FAMU and being from Detroit, I have truly learned the diversity of Black people. I've truly learned the diversity of what it means to be a Black woman and how you can actually build a Black business. And it wasn't until I actually unlocked this idea that I deserved more, that I didn't have to have the scarcity mindset, that I didn't have to operate my business from a place of lack, that I actually started attracting Black investors. So my entire cap table is Black. The Lip Bar has raised nearly $10 million. And all of my investors are Black. Arian is actually one of my investors. But at the end of the day, you don't know what you can't see. Part of the reason that I started the Lip Bar is because of the exposure needed. I've always said that without representation, we are left seeking validation, meaning that if you don't believe or if you don't see beautiful Black women, as a little Black girl, you will think that Black people are not beautiful. You will believe exactly what the media says about you, and that is why I started my business. I didn't start it because I love makeup. No one needs makeup. Makeup it's not even secondary. It's not tertiary. Like, it's not important. But what is important is self-esteem. And I think that part of the challenge with Black people in this country is that we frankly have low self-esteem. Why? Because we rarely see examples of people who are like us and we see ourselves in them. So I commend you for having an experience for people who come from the hood, because that was me. I'm only an entrepreneur because my cousin was an entrepreneur. I only graduated from college because my friends said it was cool to go to college. Like, I was following, and that's what most kids do, and we can't fault them from that. So we have to make sure that we're creating environments in which our kids have something to look up to. And right now with social media, it is becoming dangerous and to our detriment that we are not providing other examples of what Black excellence could look like. So yeah, there are the Melissa Butlers, but also there are plumbers, there are welders, there are doctors, there are lawyers. And it is our responsibility to ensure that the youth of tomorrow ensure that they have optionality. And so I don't even remember the question.
You answered
but,
it. Let the spirit move you.
but at the end
Let
of the
the spirit
day,
move you.
at the end of the day, I want us to all put ourselves and our families in the position of abundance so that we are not second guessing ourselves, so that we have the self-esteem and the motivation to go after more because we truly deserve it.
Before you pass the mic, thank you for that. Thank you for your words. You mentioned the importance of social media, again, staying in the space of representation. I want to say thank you to you publicly because recently, after our brother Jamal Bryant, Pastor Jamal Bryant, whose birthday is on today, send him a birthday message if you can. with Senator Nina Turner. Tamika Mallory launched the Target Fast. And in the middle of this, you went to social media to help our community navigate what feels like this binary choice. We either can show up in Target or we boycott it all. I don't even know if you remember this moment, but I just appreciated the thoughtfulness with which you engaged us in a conversation. What do you have to say to people about owning our economic power and supporting Black business owners at the same time?
I mean, our dollar is our power, and we may not own much, but we have a hell of a lot of buying power. And it is too often and too quick that we release our dollars into communities that do not support us, to people who do not look like us. The reality is Black people hire Black people. The reality is Black people invest in Black people. The reality is it is only us who will save us. And so I am not here to say that you should shop at Target. I had a call with Target last week, and I said, you know, I'm proud of people for boycotting, because at some point you have to decide enough is enough and you're not going to continue to eat shit. And that's just a fact. And so while my business is certainly negatively impacted by the boycott of Target, I told Angela yesterday, like, my Target sales are down 40%.
No, you need to sue them, but we'll talk later.
my sales are down 40%. But at the end of the day, my customers are Black people. I am a Black woman first before I am a business owner. And so my goal in communicating with the audience or the public was just to say, hey, I understand that we're mad. I do want us to be intentional about spending our dollars with Black-owned businesses. We don't need to go on Target, but we do need to be mindful of those businesses that we would have typically shopped and supported when we went there, because it is so much easier to convert someone in a store than it is to get them to go to your website, check out, pay for shipping, etc. But we will prevail. Some people will fail, and that's just the reality. But Black business owners as a whole need you, and I want you guys to know that we are always going to be the ones who show up for us, no one else.
So everyone in this moment who's not recording, I want you to go to your phone and look up thelipbar.com. Go to thelipbar.com. If it's not already bookmarking your phone, bookmark it now. We also are in Detroit, where you have the luxury of being able to go directly to the store. But we can help fill this 40% gap. Let's stay in this space. I want to be mindful of time. Arian, you said we need to sue them. So let's stay in this space. Let's celebrate you for standing 10 toes down, telling these folks in the middle of these DEI fights that you're not going to succumb. What lessons have you learned, and what should we be doing more of?
Oh, gosh. First, I feel like Dr. Dyson. I'm happy to be home. What up, though? I done had my Coney Island. I just need me some Better Made chips. I need me some Verner's. Oh, yes, I need me some Lou's Deli. Having me a good time. They ain't got Dotnetters no more. Let me tell you, I used to come back home, get my Dotnetter shrimp. Used to go to Fofo's, get my cake.
We talk about supporting Black businesses.
Yeah, oh, I grew up with that. I grew up with supporting Black business. My father's in the audience right now. Daddy, wave your hand.
And it's his birthday. Give him a birthday
Yes, it's
shout
his
out
birthday
too.
today.
Send him some love. Happy birthday, sir.
I saw you getting stopped by cameras and stuff walking in here. I said, yeah, my daddy Detroit famous. But Lord have mercy, it says, I'm happy to be home, but I was raised in that. I'm just like Melissa. We came up in this city of just Blackness. So we know what it's like to support Black businesses. We know what it's like to see Black leadership. Like she said, we know what it's like to see from the drug dealer to the reverend to the doctor to the lawyer. It's our environment to stand up for our people. I've been leading protests since I was a kid, petitions since I was a kid. It's just who I am. But I'm Arian Simone, and I run the nation's first venture capital fund that's built by women of color for women of color. Thank you. And we got sued very publicly for racial discrimination for not investing in white men, point blank. I thought it was a hoax at first. I thought they had us mixed up. I said, ChatGPT has messed something up. Just let the day pass. We're not being sued. Then I get the suit, and then I said, wait a minute. I saw United States District Court at the time. I said, wait, this is a federal case? I was like, oh, these people are for real. I text Ben Crump, other attorneys. I said, y'all, we got an emergency. Derek Johnson from Detroit had an NAACP. I had to get the war room together by that night. I was like, this ain't cool. But this shows you what they feel is a threat. Economic power. The second you were able to do for yourself and fund your community, wasn't mad at Melissa Butler. They were mad because I was making Melissa Butlers. So before the Fearless Fund existed, the average fundraise for a black woman was only $30,000. We came on the scene cutting 7-figure checks. They had a problem. It was disruptive. Prior to us, only 34 black women had even raised $1 million for their business. The next year, the list is 99, and we dominating the list. It was too disturbing, clearly. I mean, we still do what we do, but it was disruptive. And you asked me what again, David Johns?
What lessons did you learn in this process of fighting these fascists, and what should we be
these
doing
people
more
was
of?
racist. I don't know if that's a learning lesson.
Somebody said say that again.
Say it again. I said, we knew these people were racist. I don't know if that's a learning lesson. And I knew what I was doing was disruptive. I still remember the day my mother called me and she said, Arian, she said, I would never discourage you from being successful, but just please know what you are doing is very disruptive. And I just said, okay. She said, so I'm going to pray. She said, because you got to keep funding the community, but it is what it is. I was like, yeah. What did I learn? I had moments like Jalen, too, where I was like, dang, I need the hood to pull up right now.
Yeah.
Like, y'all, we on the front lines. I'm losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Second, we get soon closings, JP Morgan falling out of closing, Next Era falling out of closing. Closings was just falling apart. I was like, whoa, pension funds dropping off. I was like, what? I was like, I got to keep this thing going. So I had to realize that was the cost I had to pay in that moment. Liberation is expensive.
Yeah, say that.
And the same thing what Melissa's going through when she's like, sales down by 40%, but her heart is for her people before it's over that 40%.
Yeah.
So it's just like, whoa. I'm like she said, she need people to pull up right now. We need folks to pull up right now. And we were against the line. I was like, okay, I need some other folks to show up because this is no joke right now. And these legal bills, in addition to anybody who was free, I said, are no joke right now. So it was, yeah, you learn who's for you. You learn who can be bought. That's a story for another day. You learn who's for you and who's against you, for real, for real. I mean, I saw some very rough times. I was in multiple court cases at that time. People saw that one public court case. I was in plenty. So yeah, you do learn a lot, but you also learn solutions. So I will go there to stay on the optimistic and positive landscape here. I learned about the power of policy being effective and changing things for our people, and I started to develop policy. And even on my phone now, I finally have, and I know y'all was waiting, but I finally have a federal plan for an Economic Justice Act. I finally have a city and county plan. I finally have a state model plan. Because when I grew up here, Mayor Coleman Young said that the demographics of the contracts are going to match the demographics of the people. And that's how come we saw so much diversity in what black people do. It's because the money was flowing to us. So developing policy that supports that, developing petitions that support that policy. So that's what I could say I've learned in this process too.
We love that. Arian's one of the co-authors of the economic paper, or entrepreneurship paper rather, that we released today, and you can find those addendums that she talked about in that paper at stateoftheppl.com/blackpapers. Let's wind this down before we take a few questions. Eric Thomas is the former chief storyteller for the city of Detroit. What up, Doe? And Loren Studevant, who does work with Black Leaders Detroit, can help us round this out. So Eric, a part of what we know is that policies are advanced when we're able to tell compelling stories. We also know that a critical part of getting allies and investors is telling our story. And too often, white people want us to engage in poverty pimping, where we tell a particular version of our experience of blackness in order to get the funding. What can you share? What lessons can you teach us about how we tell the most effective stories for our liberation right now? And then can you complement that and talk about the work that you all do in Detroit to provide resources to leaders like Arian and Melissa and people in the audience? And then after that, we'll open it up for questions. Remember, a question begins with the preposition: who, what, where, when, why, or how. Questions. If you have a statement, hold it. We have time for what? Questions. I'm saying this now because if you do not ask a what? I will cut you off with love. So let's go. Here's storytelling, resources, and then I got 2 people already in the queue for questions. We'll see how many we can get through thereafter. I see you noted as well.
Oh boy. I'm gonna try to be succinct because I know we got some time stuff, but you did ask a storyteller about stories. So I have a very serious love affair with narratives because I have watched narratives radicalized, educated, deeply thoughtful people into hate mongers in a very short amount of time. It is easy to be like the white people was racist the whole time. I have watched black men turn into like anti-women, anti-vax, anti-knowledge, anti-intellectuals. I have watched white racists and black men spew the same talking points because we have absorbed narratives that are about us because we have such great distrust for the man. I have a plea. If you are upset about something, find out who your villain is. The thing about narratives is that there is this idea of there's an emotional fight. They are out to get us. Baby, who is they? People are mad at Duggan for Gilbert problems, Gilbert for Biden problems, Biden for Trump problems, Trump for, it's like, hey, there's a guy. And so for me, I spend a lot of time thinking about how the narratives that we absorb make us think about ourselves and our actions, right? People rise to the expectations that you have of them. Not just children, but adults too. We talked about that a lot. Dalen talked about that. Like, if you not just say to kids that they will be great, but treat them as if they are whole, that their expectations and their aspirations matter, then they rise to your level of expectations. But adults do that too. When I was chief storyteller, I had like a charge. When I took over, so as chief storyteller, because that's like a fake sounding title, I was appointed by the mayor. I ran all city branding and social media, helped them with speeches, all kinds of stuff. One thing I did for City Social is I made every single post joyful black people. Because there's an idea of us. When you Google Detroit, it was like dilapidated buildings. We think of Detroit, especially externally, as like stuff. But it's people. The thing that makes Detroit powerful is the people of Detroit. The buildings don't matter without the people in them. And so, as we talk about nonprofits, because in my storytelling agency, I spend a lot of time doing work with nonprofits or people here that I've worked with. And for me, it's all about whether the clients know it or not, because I do not care. I am an insurgent. You need to know that about me. If you hire me, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. I am, okay? And so I have always built stories. If it was about, I did a brand for WIC, and I placed so many people, white men, tech developers, everybody who had been on WIC in the commercial to remind people that this is about people and help and love and support, and that's it. If we are to get people to invest in our narratives, to your point about allies, they have to be able to see themselves broadly in our narratives. It sounds like that's not possible, but it's not true. Because I've watched people fall in love with cars in Pixar movies. I've watched people fall in love with ants. If you can fall in love with ants, you can fall in love with black people. I don't believe it's true. That we can't make people fall in love, because they fall in love with our culture. They fall in love with our clothes. They recite all of our lyrics. In fact, this is the thing that really blows me about the narratives that we see. All these commercials, it's always, like the best commercials in the world for some reason, the ones that win all the awards, is usually like a white person doing a black thing. If I see one more social media influencer that's just like a white news reporter doing a thing that they would not hire us for, that they would fire us for, I'm going to lose my mind. And so, as I alley-oop this, because I got a little bit of rage. All right?
That's all right. James Baldwin said to be black and relatively conscious is to almost always be in a
Constant state of rage.
So go
That's
for it.
me. But as I think about narratives, and I've learned a lot of the way I communicate, funny enough, from Michael Eric Dyson. Where is he at? I grew up listening to him on the radio, and I patterned most of my speech after him. So if I sound like him, it's because I'm a cheap facsimile. Now, what I want to tell you about stories, if I can impart any bit of wisdom from the way that you tell your stories, I want you to investigate the things that the people care about. At the core, it's what Republicans are best at. We go out and we say, you should help them. Republicans go out and say, let me help you. If you are selling something, if you can dig into the core of the thing that moves somebody the most, they will part with their dollars and their support. Even if it makes it feel like they're doing it, because at the end of the day, I need it. I need all that money to help my community. I'm like Robin Hood. When I was running my agency, most of my clients were white, but all of my employees were black. I'm taking the money out, I'm bringing it in, I'm sharing it. I now work at a CDFI, a community development financial institution, because I need to know how you guys were pulling together $60 million at a time. And so now I'm absorbing that, and I'm sharing it out. Because that is our job if you're able to infiltrate. Learn how to infiltrate.
Lorenz, let's stay in this space on the point of infiltration. Black Leaders Detroit has pioneered a community-centered funding model. You also all have a $1 per week model that's designed to help accelerate some of these changes. What does that look like? What do we need to know?
All right, peace and love, everybody. My name is Lorenz. I serve as the Senior Loan Officer at Black Leaders Detroit. Tremendously grateful to be here. All of you have been amazing. I had no idea I was even going to be up here until like late last night, so I'm super excited. So with that, Black Leaders Detroit, we serve as the funding vehicle for black-owned businesses in the city. So we do that by providing grants to black business owners, as well as we have a no-interest loan program. And you heard that correctly. We have a loan program where we distribute up to about $25,000 per applicant, where they just pay back the loan and that's it. We don't charge any interest at any point during the loan process at all. And we ultimately came together back in 2019, ultimately because there's just inequities when it comes to black people or black business owners having access to funding. So a lot of times we'll go into our neighborhood banks, our Chases, our Bank of Americas, things of that nature, and we'll apply for a loan. We'll have a business running for quite a while, it's doing pretty good, and we'll apply for the loan, but they won't tell us, and they'll deny us, but they won't tell us like why we're denied, right? And obviously we take that as like, hey, it must be because of the color of my skin, which most often is true, but we also want that education. Like our people, we want the education. We about that grind, we're about that build. So we came together ultimately to break that, right? And so we've been doing that. We've distributed about almost $5 million in no interest loans to black entrepreneurs in the city. And we do that by taking action. So one of the things that we talked about is just taking action and not just talking about it. And that's one of the reasons why I love working at BLD, is because we literally ask everyday people such as yourselves to donate $1 a week or $52 a year. That's it, y'all. We literally allocate those funds and distribute them to entrepreneurs across the city, and we're gonna keep doing that until we can't do it no more, right? And so also with that, in July, we are actually rolling out a program for real estate developers where you can borrow up to $150,000 and just repay that back at no interest. And this will be for renovating, properties, 1 to 4 unit properties all across the city. So with all of the homes that we all know are in these different neighborhoods that are blighted and they need that work, like we're providing the funding for that. So that'll be rolling out in July. We're super happy about that. But yeah, we are just really so much about helping the community, creating that family atmosphere, that unification that we all talk about. And actually starting at the beginning of, well, actually late May, so it was that next week. We're going to be doing a bike ride. So every year we do a bike ride from Detroit to Mackinac Island. And that ride is basically to go to a small business a conference, but we actually ride our bikes because we want to show, and we like to show that whenever black people have to do something, it's always twice as hard for us to make that journey. Thank you. And so this year, the ride has gotten so big that this year we're actually doing a national bike ride from Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, to Wall Street, New York. And yeah, so we're doing that over. Now I won't be doing a ride. I'm driving the support vehicle. Okay, so I won't be doing a ride, but I'm driving.
See, because people is gonna be out here looking for you. How do people access all of these resources and otherwise tap in?
Thank you. So you can go to, so for our website, when it comes to the loans and things of that nature, and donations, that is blackleadersdetroit.org. So Black Leaders with the S, Detroit.org. And as for the ride, if you would like to donate or become a supporter of the ride, you can go to rideforequity.org, and the 4 is the actual number, not the word.
Awesome. So let's do this. If you have a question that begins with a preposition, I need you, if you can, to join me here in this line. If you have a question that is specific for Melissa, get in the line and then let me know. Is that for Melissa? Actually, if you could come up here and do that, we're gonna run through all of the questions and then allow them to answer. Does anyone have a question specific to Melissa? Yes. What is it?
Melissa, how do we support
Sorry, I keep saying Melissa, but I mean Arian. We're gonna get Arian out of here so she can go celebrate her daddy. Does somebody have a question for Arian? No? Okay, let's say thank you to Arian Simone. Say thank you to Arian Simone. I got it now. It's gonna be Melissa now. Y'all say thank you to her so she can go celebrate her dad. Because the data shows that when you touch the mic, you talk longer. So she's gonna hold the mic. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna run through all of the questions, and then they're gonna close this out. Question begins with a preposition. Let's go. I'll take notes, but you all take notes as well so you can respond to the questions as we close out.
Okay, yeah, hi, everyone. This has been enlightening. I'm Harriet Tubman of the Hood. I'm a street preacher. The question, because he's going to set me down. So I want to say, can we politically, educationally have centralized offices? We are so diverse, okay.
No, don't answer the question, just ask it.
So can somebody help us? Tell me how we can have centralized offices, for example.
No, we don't need the example. Let them just answer the question. Let's go to the next. It's a lie. It is a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. Let's go. Next question. We got to move through. Y'all know how y'all do. I said in love. Question.
I want to know how we challenge each other. On Monday, and those of us who went on the tour this morning to J. Roden School know it was awesome. On Monday, he had a golf outing. I gave $1,000. How many of us can make sure we commit? He was donated a brand new building. He needs to raise $25 million.
We got it. How do we challenge each other?
How do we challenge each other to make sure that he has what he needs?
That's it. We got the question. Let's go. How do we challenge each other? I told y'all how this was going to go.
What up, though? Can I get some boss lady?
What's the question?
Here, today. Can you bring some tomorrow?
Oh, she asked and answered. Let's go. Appreciate that. All right. Asked and answered. Yep.
My question was for Mr. Rose about his academy.
Yep. Go for it.
Have you ever were afraid of your academy shutting down for any reason? And if so, how did you navigate through that moment of fear and go back to hope and encouragement?
Got it. Yes, next question. Appreciate y'all for modeling this well.
Who, what, why, when, where? Is that okay?
Not all 5, no. Ask a question.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Go for it.
Where? Where can we donate to Jalen's foundation, his school? Where can we donate to your leadership fund? Where do we donate? Where? And what? What can we do? where can we locate Melissa Butler's products? TheLipBar.com or ThreadBeauty.com? That's my last
Okay,
question.
we'll come to Melissa for that specifically. Thank you.
I am a former Ford through Ferguson employee, so thank you. My question is, who are the Harry Belafontaines, our Ozzie Davises, our Ruby Dees, our Dick Gregories? Y'all have access to people we don't have access to, so who are ours? Thank you.
Who are funders and champions? We
My
like that.
question
Yep.
is for Jalen Rose. Are you teaching your young folks how to eat healthy?
Okay.
I have some
Jayla, you have the most questions, so I'm going to hold them for you. Brother, why don't you start and share specifically a question is how can they tap into the resources?
So for us, so you just simply go to the website and click donate. But the website is blackleadersdetroit.org. And our other website for the ride is ride4, the number 4, so ride4equity.org.
Appreciate that. Anything else you want to say by way of parting?
I'm kind of cheating off of his paper. Let's see. I did want to know more about the offices. That was definitely an interesting question, but I didn't know what she meant by centralized offices, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yep, let's get through these questions, and depending on if I get the sign or not, we can go back into a discussion. Dr. Dyson, can you answer the question about where are our Harry Belafontes?
Yes. We got Jalen Rose sitting up on this stage as a prominent athlete who is articulate about our issues, who is uncompromising in public spaces about representing an issue of blackness. Look, we know that generationally things are different. We know that two people that I love and respect, the late, great Mr. Belafonte and Jay-Z, got into a contretemps, got into a kerfuffle, got into a pre-Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. And I know somebody got a damn question about that. But anyway, so the thing is,
Kendrick won.
yeah. No, but my man, the storyteller gave me I love you, bro. The narrative created, but I'm gonna get back to that. So it's important, they got into a beef. I talked to both of them, and Jay finally admitted, yes, I have to respect Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte said, I have to respect the new generation. My point is simply this. There are many Ossie Davises, and some of the people you don't think. You know who gave more money than Harry Belafonte and Ossie Davis Jr.? Sammy Davis Jr., right? Seen as a sellout, seen as a colonizer, but was a man who stood up. And I think where we find them now are in the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, to be sure, but also in those representatives of us who continue to express their viewpoint. Think about a Viola Davis who stands up and articulates our viewpoints. Think about a Ryan Clark in terms of going at RG3 right now. So there are many of us who are out here, many of them who are out there doing that, and we have to respect it's a different level, using their social media platforms to articulate those ideas, or a Kendrick Lamar who's doing serious work for Black Lives Matter through the means that he has available to him. Those are some of the people who are doing incredible work.
Thank you, Doc. Melissa, two questions to you. One is, where can we find your products? And then how do we challenge each other to invest with each other?
So you can find the Lip Bar at thelipbar.com, but honestly, this is not about the Lip Bar. It's really just about you being intentional with your dollar and using your dollar and knowing that your dollar has power. And so you have the choice on who you give your money to. And then you do want to think about how they are then spending their money. Like we talked about Elon Musk earlier. He's only amassed this wealth because we gave it to him. And so I want us to be very clear about where we are giving our dollars. Let's stop spending money and start investing it, and then we will see our communities change.
Thank you. TheLipBar.com also. Reverend Starsky, where can we find our Harry Belafontes? You want to riff on that and or anything else that strikes your spirit?
Yeah, I also want to say where you can support. Right? So we advocate for 74 million children across the country. They don't have jobs. They don't have a vote. They don't have a voice unless you give them yours. And so we encourage you to support them by voting on behalf of children, by supporting institutions like the Children's Defense Fund. So you can do that at childrensdefense.org. And I also want to get at this idea of who are Harry. You are. You are our Harry Belafontes. You are more support by big mamas, abuelitas, mamas, aunties, and them by standing up the only institution we run lock, stock, and barrel nationally, which is the church. The only institution we've ever fully politicized, which is the church. And so we need these central figures. We need the inspiration. But also I understand that movement starts in rooms like this, in congregations and sanctuary basements. I want to, if we come back to the central office, I want to come back to the central office. The only thing that's going to last is a central approach. And so I found that Marian Wright Edelman would always say, keep the baby at the center of the table. So the question is, what's the only idea that's going to outlast the conversation that you have and maybe outlast you? It's the idea of advancing interests of your children. And so I talk to people a lot because I know a few things. Number one, I know that the most significant indicator of the well-being of a child is the level of education of the mother. So I married a doctor. I also know that my 3 black boys who were on this tour with me on Saturday are more likely, they have 2 parents with terminal degrees, they live solidly middle-class lives, one of them's already going to an HBCU, and the data suggests they are more likely to end up poor than to remain middle class. So what I know is that the old narrative about an education being your key to advancement has broken down for millennials as the first generation in American history. Because we have allowed the breakdown of unions, because we have allowed the aggregation of wealth among a few, because we have allowed the stripping of resources outside of our community. And so I say this to say, if you want to focus on how we do better, you have to focus on centralizing, doing things better for your children. Keep the children at the center of the conversation. And if we're doing that, if we're pursuing child well-being, if we're paying attention to the data, then part of what we've got to do is make sure that we invest in supports for them. I've done the job. I've been only the 2nd leader of the Children's Defense Fund. I've done the job for less than 5 years. In these 5 years in America, we cut child poverty in half in a year, 2021, and we allowed it to triple every year since then. That's because we made public policy choice. Poverty for children is a public policy choice. But it's not just a federal one, it is a local one, it is a state one, it is a congregational one, it is a community one. So when we stand up and say that we're going to provide every support we can to every child in this church, synagogue, mosque, or temple, when we stand up and say that we're going to make sure that the school board is accountable, because guess what? If we still have elections for the school board and they have given local control, then the whole school board curriculum can be black, where there are black children. And so this is part of our work, right? The whole district can be Jalen Rose Academies, if we're willing to do our work of enfranchisement, our work of mobilization, and we do it because we believe they deserve it. So I ask people on every stop that I go to, the child that you love the most, do they deserve to be sheltered? Do they deserve to be fed? They deserve to be nourished? They deserve to be educated? I'm asking this question for the first time in Detroit. What did they do to deserve it? Nothing. They were born. This is a human rights conversation. If children deserve it because they are here, then it is our responsibility to do everything we can to give it to them because they are here.
Eric, yeah, well said. Children's Defense. Eric, what's a resource for folks to increase their competence with regard to media literacy and storytelling? Is there a book? Is there a podcast? What's the resource you want to leave us with?
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, I've got actually a real one. Has anybody ever heard of the platform Ground News? Yes. Ground News. Ground News is a platform that shows you the different headlines about specific stories and how different sides are talking about issues, but also it has a blind spot to it to tell you what the other side is not talking about. On both sides. I would encourage you as much as you can emotionally handle it, maybe once a month, just go look at what the other side is saying about things that you fundamentally believe. We take for granted that people think like us because of the stories that we tell ourselves about what is true. I'm not saying go on the side to believe them. I'm saying go on the side to understand, to your point about the fundamental. They believe in their children. Every single time somebody is going to take your rights away, they make it about their kids. Trans people are bad because my kids, right? It's always about this core fundamental. The more you understand about that fundamental, the more you're able to have constructive conversations about what we as people need to exist.
Thank you. Jalen, the last questions go to you. There are at least two. One is, where can we donate? There's another question of, have you been afraid of a school closure, and if so, how did you navigate that? Yeah, let's go with those two.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. A few ways, since, like many of you, I grew up in this community, ways of donating are a lot bigger than fiscal. There's showing them love when you see them out in the street, and they may or may not be doing or saying the wrong thing. Give them a job if you're in position to do so. Our school is at 15,000 Trojan. If you know any really good talent that's, committed in education in various different ways, whether it's a teacher, administrator, or somebody you know that's really good, whether they're local or not, we do national searches because we're trying to get the best and brightest here in Detroit. Our website is jrladetroit.com, and we have 400 students currently in high school and another 1,000 that we service. We're a 9 through 16 model, which means we're supporting the scholars once they graduate from high school. Because you can't get a job, definitely can't get a dream job with a high school diploma. We all know that. And also, we want them to be able to learn how to adopt a trade. Like, what has happened in society is it's not cool to have a job no more. And so what we got to start being able to do is show them that it's not just work. You're an entrepreneur. You're garnering a career. This is something you can actually take with you wherever you go. It's a hustle. And if you're going to be successful, guess what? You got to have multiple hustles.
Yeah, yeah.
How many titles do each of you hold in your own lives? Right? It can't be just walk in the classroom, I want to be an athlete. All right, cool. You're 14. You ain't going to be able to play in the league until you're 19. So what are we going to do between now and then? And then what we going to do when you possibly out of the league in 23? But there's so many jobs in and around the sport. So it's our job to expose them. So I appreciate the support. And if you have great young people that you want to send to the school that are going to be aligned to us holding them accountable to being the best version of themselves. And this was the first year we took cell phones from our scholars during the school year. And it ain't a JRLA thing, it's a life thing. You can't be on the phone all the time at your job. That's right. I don't care what you do. You think you sneak in, you think you're gonna be able to do it, you're just not going to be able to do it. At some point, they're gonna crack down on you. And they're doing it in Florida, they're doing it across the country, they're doing it across the world. So, wish me luck with that one.
Yeah, we can do more than wish him luck. What's the website? We were doing so good. We were doing so good, beloved. We were doing so good. What's the website? Last time, like, we actually believe in what this brother is doing for our babies. What's the website? That's right. So we can invest, we can show up, and we can send talent. Let's make sure that we do that. Also want to remind you all to visit our website and download the Black Papers. I want to say thank you to our state representative, Donovan McKinney. I understand that he's here today. Detroit versus, he's here in his uniform, Detroit versus everybody, so everybody knows. Thank you for your leadership, for getting into good trouble on our behalf, and thank y'all for the grace. I learned how to manage like this, teaching kindergarten and third grade. I appreciate y'all for allowing me to lead in love. Welcome Angela Rye to the mic. She's going to deliver our last remarks for the day.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to be brief. I know I'm standing between you all and the gas cards that folks need to fill up their tanks. This State of the People, David, your conversation loud. Huh? You have something else?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Listen, that's all right. Listen, we doing this together. There was one question that did not get answered, and there was a question about teaching kids to be healthy. Is that something that you're doing at the school?
Yes, it's the same struggle that you have with your kids. Young kids like fried food, French fries, pizzas. That's what they like. And so what we've created is healthy options. We had a salad bar just recently at the school. We have, people that are cooking in the kitchen now that are very passionate about creating healthy options. So absolutely, our goal is to make sure our young people are eating healthy.
She wants to know if you were ever afraid of your school closing, and if so, how did you navigate it?
I was afraid it was closing before it was open, because there's a lot of things you need to navigate as the founder of a school and the president of the board. Just imagine, wherever you went to school, you probably never met the founder. Like, I was at the school today dressed like this, right? So it's different. And I have a level of respect for our families. I love this community. I appreciate our staff. I try to create an environment that teachers are going to be proud of, that young people are going to be proud of, that when you guys pull up, you guys will be proud of, and just do the best we can with what we have. And so, absolutely, I'm committed, they're committed. And what was the second part of the question?
That sounds great. Okay, so it was great. He was afraid it would close before it even opened. So, and he navigated it. He's still navigating. Sufficient? Okay, good. All right. The State of the People Power Tour is about this. It's about connecting. It's about reminding our communities about how resilient we are. And it's ensuring that you all know that when everyone else in the country, systems, governmental structures, turn their backs on you all, Black folks, we got you. And so whether it's a utility bill payment, it is food, it is a gas card, we are here for you. But we want you all to remember that we are here for you because we need you to be here for one another. So when the State of the People Tour continues on, there are organizations that are led by incredible leaders, your own Harry Belafontes, your own Ruby Dees and Ossie Davises, all throughout this room. If you run an organization, don't say anything, just stand up. If you run an organization in this community, let's give it up for the people who are here, providing resource tables, providing solutions to our everyday problems. We want you all to plug into these organizations, and most of all, turn to your neighbor and say, but tomorrow. Say it again like you mean it, but tomorrow. Say it one more time like there's a gas card coming your way, but tomorrow. Okay, now that was believable. Tomorrow we will be back here with more resources. I just said tomorrow, y'all. I know you ain't still talking. Ain't that many syllables in tomorrow. Tomorrow, State Rep, we will be back here with more resources, with more incredible workshops, and an incredible rally after we leave the Juvenile Detention Center to talk to some of our young folks, because even though they can't come into this room, they matter too, and their power matters too. So we ask for you all to join us. Khalil, you have an announcement? Okay. We ask that you all come back tomorrow. We will be here tomorrow afternoon. We will have snacks. Somebody say snacks. That's good. We'll have some of those too. And when we leave this evening, there's a hibachi situation downstairs. No, it's not. I'm just playing. No, there's not. It's gone? Did they already eat? Oh, never mind. You already had snacks. I'm just hungry. Okay. Well, God bless you and your families. Thank you all so much. Detroit, we love you. Thank you for sharing space with the State of the People Power Tour. Give it up for yourselves. Khalil, do you have anything?
Yes, so at the end, we are going to line up right along this wall. Dewana is sitting right over there. You're going to check in with her to get your gas card, but that is how you're going to line up. It is $25 for the first 100 people.
They're already lining up. Well, you just dismissed everybody. Praise the Lord.
Okay.
They already gone.
I know.
Tell them thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming out. Thank you to Nettie Sabachi. No, I'm good. I'm going to take care of this.
Okay, and thank you to all of our volunteers who made this happen. Give it up for our volunteers. Shout out to everybody. Say the People Power Tour.